Joining us from Baylor University is head coach Kim Mulkey and our student athletes Odyssey Sims and Brittany Griner. A reminder about the format. We'll do a 15-minute Q&A with our student athletes, and then we'll have time for some questions for the coach. Please raise your hand and make sure we have a mic before you ask a question. We'd like to start us off with a question for our student athletes. Shice.
I understand that the stated goal is national championship or bust. With that being said, do you feel the pressure of that on a night-by-night basis?
No, really don't feel any pressure. I guess the pressure would be at the beginning of the season when you're ranked high and you haven't played any games. You got to prove yourself. So right now, no pressure really.
This is for Brittany as well. There's a lot of potential on you, obviously, for what you brought to the program. But what did the addition of Odyssey to your team at a point guard of that caliber add to what you're able to do?
Well, I mean, just want to say I'm not the team. You know, it takes all of us. And Odyssey, on the defensive end, she brings, pressure. She's going to harass the ball handler, and off the ball, she's become a great off the ball defender too. And Jordan and Nene and Brooke and everybody, Destiny rebounding. It's just so much you can talk about with them.
Could I also ask the media to please identify yourself as you ask the question? Who else asked one?
I'm Jim Massey, the Columbus Dispatch. Honestly, for you, joining this team a couple of years ago and having a person like Brittany play for, how has that helped you expand your own game?
Just, I guess you can say the difference from last year and this year. I feel more comfortable. I have a year under my belt. I know what I got to do. Coach has helped me a lot. Just on the court, like when they get the ball inside, what shots are good, what shots are not, and it's just experience. We have BG inside, and our offense just ran through her, and we're just getting better.
Ricardo LeCompte, KWTX in Waco. Odyssey, how much of that experience helped you out when you were playing in the Pan-Am games this summer to carry over into this season?
I played, I was the youngest, one of the youngest. I played with older girls, so I took what I could from them. Just they were more experienced than I was. I had to pay a lot of attention to detail, just more on the offensive end, not so much on defense. Just learning how to manage the game. That's something that I still work on every day, and I'm still working on it now. And that's something that I took just watching Skylar Diggins. She's a great point guard. Just try to get as much as I could from her.
Scott Cottis from the Post Story Review Times. Brittany, you've seen probably every post defense known to mankind, and can you talk about that a little bit and what you have to go through on a nightly basis and overcome?
Just about every night I could count on double team, double, triple team, sagging down on me. Kind of used to it now. It's kind of like my one-on-one now, seeing two people on me. When I see it, I get happy because I know I can find one of my teammates. Somebody's going to be open. So that's about it.
Brittany, Dave Hackenberg from the Toledo Blade. Of all the statistics, maybe the most eye-popping thing to a lot of us is the block shots. How does that rank on the things that you enjoy most about what you've accomplished during your career? And just talk a little bit about that skill.
It's number one. Defense is my favorite part of the game. Blocking shots is my favorite thing to do. Even over dunking. mean, if I can stop the other team from scoring, I mean, I feel like that, that's helping out my team. And just being a presence in the paint. So the other team, even if they don't drive, they know, I'm in there. Yeah, definitely blocking shots. That's probably the only one that I really care about. Oh yeah, well, everybody talks to me about the dunks, but that's probably the last thing on my list.
Dispatch.
We haven't talked about UC Santa Barbara and Odyssey. Just basically, what are your impressions of them? And do you generally get like the absolute best game from everybody you see?
All year we've been getting everybody's best shot, just considering we're #1 in the country. We haven't lost any games. But going into this tournament, we're not going to take anybody for granted. Not going to take anybody lightly. On the men's side, there's been a lot of upsets. So we're just going to go and play our game. We've had great practices all week. We're going to continue that, and we've been making each other better. So come tomorrow, we'll be ready, and we're just going to play.
Odyssey, Wendell Barnhouse, BigFieldSports.com. You just mentioned there have been some upsets on the men's side. Is that something that, I know you guys are really focused, but does that kind of help you knowing that, it is March Madness, no matter whether it's men or women, and that you really have to kind of be ready?
Yeah, this is the most exciting part of college basketball. March Madness, anybody can get upset, anybody can go home at any given time. But just being the underdog, nobody wants to go home. And everybody's going to play hard. And if you don't play your best, you can get sent home. And we're going to do our best to win every game and go as far as we need to, and hopefully get to our main goal.
Anything else for our student athletes?
Odyssey, if I could follow up, with Brittany back there on defense, for you and everybody else that plays on the perimeter, how does that change your defensive mindset as far as how you can pick up the person you're guarding?
I still pressure the ball from, as soon as they throw the ball in, all the way to half court. I guess you can say it's mostly on the side when they're on the wing and there's a on-ball screen. We try to keep them to the sidelines as much as possible and force them in BG if we know she's on our side, because she can block the shot. And we want to send them into her because they're not going to get a shot out. But it's a great feeling to have BG inside, because she can block a lot of shots and she helps us a lot on defense when we get beat, and she helps us a lot, and we try to help her as much as we can too.
Anyone else? Ladies, you're welcome to head back to the locker room. Thank you very much. And who wants to start off with questions for the coach?
Coach John Wagner from the Toledo Blade. Will you talk a little bit about being in Bowling Green? Were you surprised to be sent here?
Well, first of all, Brittany Griner's the most excited because she thinks the university's named after her. She sees BG everywhere you go, so that fired her up. You're always surprised. I learned last year, none of us are happy. None of us are happy when the selections are announced, and I don't mind being here. I just feel for our fans. I wish that our fans could follow us, and it's just too expensive and too far for our fans to travel. But the team, they're so focused right now, it doesn't matter where we play. But for our fans, I would have liked to have seen it be a little bit closer.
Kim, Wendell Barnhouse, Big12Sports.com. I wanted to ask you what I asked Odyssey. When there's upsets on the men's side and you guys have a day or two to adjust, does it help you kind of as a teachable moment to kind of say, look, 215 beat a couple of twos, that sort of thing?
Well, whether you're on the men's side or the women's side, if you're a basketball fan, athlete, coach, you're watching. So I don't know how much I have to tell them. They'll ask me, Coach, did you see this team was beat? Did you know the score of this game? You keep up with that. And at this stage, if I have to use that as motivation, we're not gonna do very well. But you watch games. That's what we do. And but to go into a room and just harp on it, it doesn't have an impact other than these kids know what they have to do.
Coach, you probably understand this better than most. All 4 teams here are terrific point guards. Probably no coincidence, right?
What was your last part of that?
No coincidence that all 4 teams here have significant point guards.
Is it a coincidence?
No coincidence, I'm guessing, right?
No, I don't. I'm sure the committee didn't sit there and go put the 4 good.
With the success.
Oh, with the success. Well, listen, Brittany Griner, to me, is probably going to go down in history as the greatest to ever play the game at her position. But Brittany Griner is so dependent on point guards and on wing players. She can't dribble it, pass it to herself. She can't do all those things. You know, guard play becomes really, really critical, particularly in the playoffs, because the post players are so dependent on guard play. And I think you're exactly right. We're going to see great guard play here this week, or weekend, and part of next week, however you want to say it, weekend.
Kim, Dave Hackenberg from the Toledo Blade. Can you remember the first time you ever saw Brittany and what your reaction was?
Yes, I saw her. I'm not sure if she was 8th grade or just finished the 8th grade, going in the 9th grade, and she had the big braid down her back of her hair, and she probably at that time may have been about 6'4", and it was during the summer. It was not even during the school year, and I just thought, wow, this kid grows into her body. She had great wingspan at that time, and that's what I thought. Raw, but the long arms, the wingspan, she was blocking shots at that age, wasn't very fluid around the rim on finishing and knowing where she was on the floor. As tall as she was, I didn't think she had a great presence on the floor at that time, but you couldn't help but notice her because we're all looking for big girls. And but I just remember at that age, she could block shots back then.
Coach, even as imposing as Brittany is right now, is there still upside?
Upside, without question. I don't think you've seen the best of Brittany Griner yet. I just think to see the progress she's made from high school to her first year in college, from her first year to now her 3rd year at Baylor. I was looking at film over the other day, just the way her body looks. Her body is so much stronger looking. Her shoulders are just broader, and just she carries herself just better than she did when she was a freshman. And I just think that she's going to continue to get better. And the reason she will, I mean, it's not my great coaching, it's Brittany. Brittany has a personality that she makes great eye contact. She's a people pleaser. She hates to disappoint you. And when she messes up in practice, it bothers her. It bothers her. And she wants to do better. And as long as Brittany has that type of personality, I just think every year she plays the game, she will get better and better.
Let's go up to the camera platform here first.
Tim, I'm doing a story on Odyssey. You know, you've heard the old adage that all the point guards are an extension of their head coach. In her 2nd year right now, is she slowly kind of taking your personality on the court? Is he kind of working to that point?
Odyssey, talent-wise, in my opinion, there's no point guard more talented than Odyssey. She's played against the Skylar Diggins. She's played summer basketball throughout high school against the best we have out there. What Odyssey had to learn when she came to Baylor was you are the coach on the floor. And in high school and summer ball, Odyssey could kind of scoot to that off guard some when she got fatigued, or when she wanted to shoot it, or when she got tired of bringing it up the floor. Well, she can't do that here. We need Odyssey to want the ball. We need Odyssey to come to practice every day in good spirits. And those are things that for 18 years of her life prior to coming to Baylor, she could go have a bad day at practice and it still be better than everybody else. And I just think those types of things take time. And I think Odyssey gets it now. I think she understands I can't have a bad day. Coach Kim can't have a bad day. For 2 hours, we got to go out there and we got a job to do, and everybody feeds off of you. I think that Odyssey has grown so much in that area, more so than the talent. The talent's always been there. She's just a fantastic basketball player, but it was all the little things that are expected of you when you play that position. She has to know everybody's responsibilities on that floor. She has to engage her teammates to want to play with her. Talent, defense, I've never coached a guard that plays defense on ball like Odyssey Sims does. She is relentless with ball pressure, and that's not something a coach taught her. That comes from within. She really, really takes great pride in that, just as Griner does in shot blocking. I've said this numerous times. I don't know what I would dread more as a player, to bring the ball up the floor against Odyssey Sims or have to guard Griner. And when you have them both on your team, you smile and say, I don't have to worry about either one of those problems. And that's how much I think of those two kids.
Coach Jim Massey from Columbus Dispatch. You kind of answered one thing, but I'm going to ask you something else. When Brittany said yes to you, what was that moment like when she said, I'm not only staying in Texas, I'm coming to Baylor?
I called my athletic director. I can tell you where I was sitting. I was sitting in my car in the parking lot at my office. And I called the athletic director and I told him, you're going to see something. You're going to have to deal with things that you've never had to deal with before. She's a phenom. And I know he heard me, but I'm not really sure he listened. And now he sees, from media to NCAA issues to you guys to, not many girls in the game through the history of the game have had to deal with Brittany Griner and everything that comes with it. And for her to handle everything the way she's handled it, even when she's had bad moments, I think that throughout the length of her career, her good will far outweigh any bad that she's ever done, because she's a special, special talent.
Kim, you guys are playing a game. Hi.
Okay.
You guys are playing a game tomorrow. What do you think you're going to get out of UC Santa Barbara?
Well, you're going to get a very excited basketball team. They've won 9 of their last 11. They've finished 6th in the league, but they won the tournament. You're going to see balanced scoring. While they don't have a lot of players, well, they don't have any players that score in double figures, it's just spread out. And I think that you'll see a team that will try to keep the game as low scoring as possible. They're, 7th in the country in fewest points allowed. That tells you a couple of things. One, they're either guarding people very, very well, or they're pretty much in an offense that doesn't have a lot of wasted possessions and they use up the shot clock.
Coach, you've got off the beaten path a little bit here. You've got a player, Shanae Washington, who's gone through something nobody should have to go through with the 5 ACL. Can you talk about that and what her, trials and tribulations have been and how it's affected you as well?
Well, she's with us, and Shanae Washington had a couple of ACL injuries in high school, actually played her senior year on a torn ACL, and she did not know it. She came to us with a torn ACL, so we fixed that prior to her ever playing at Baylor. And she started for us when she was a freshman. So that tells you how talented she was. She's a big perimeter player that, had she not been injured, I'm sure would be a starter for us today. She is one of the most enjoyable, pleasant kids to coach and to just be around. She's a yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir. She has the sweetest voice. And while you don't like injuries to happen to anybody, it's especially hard to digest and understand when it happens to a kid that just works her rear end off to get back on that floor, and you really can't help her. All you can do is hug her and say, Shanae, this is an injury, but we're not going to let this injury break you as a person. You take your time, take a deep breath, and you decide what it is you want to do on fixing it and coming back out here and trying to play again. But my goal for Shanae Washington, honestly, is that if we're playing in the national championship game and we're way ahead, to put her on that floor and let her enjoy it, because she's a big part of our team.
John?
Coach, one more question about Odyssey, if you would. Is being on the same team as Brittany and all the attention that Brittany gets, does that make us kind of underappreciate or undervalue Odyssey and her contribution?
Maybe if you've never seen our team play. I would think probably, has anybody here ever seen us in person other than the local people that are with us? When you see us play, you won't ask that question. These players know how good they are. They understand that in their lifetime, a kid that plays above the rim is a rarity. And while everything we do offensively goes through Brittany Griner, we are not Brittany Griner. We are Baylor women's basketball, and everybody on this team has a role to play. Everybody on this team understands we were high school All-Americans, and I don't have those types of concerns, issues, and when you see us play, you'll understand more that this is truly a team. Even when Brittany has 40, there's a reason she has 40. She's being guarded one-on-one. There are nights we'll have 5 in double figures. There's a reason we have 5 in double figures. 3 or 4 are guarding Brittany, and she finds open teammates. And a lot of that is because this kid, Brittany, doesn't have a prima donna bone in her body. She has no arrogance about her. Watch her run the floor. I mean, she just runs the floor like it's just a basketball player. She takes nothing for granted. She understands the game better. She makes everybody want to play with her.
Okay, last question. We do need to let the coach get back to practice.
Kim, kind of what I asked Odyssey, a lot of teams, play defense, when the ball goes inside, people come in from the wings, and then if the ball gets thrown back out, there's an open three. I know you guys don't leave Brittany on an island inside, but your perimeter players know that, hey, I'm not going to run away from a three-point shooter, particularly because we've got Brittany inside. In other words, can you guys play more straight up and not help out inside?
We can do a lot of things when you have Griner down in there. We don't have to help down and cover down as much. Brittany pretty much can guard anybody one-on-one and can get away with sometimes being bad down there because she can alter shots. We can, I don't like to use the word gamble because I think our defense is fundamentally sound, but we can really, really get out in passing lanes sometimes that you may not if you didn't have Brittany back there because you want to make sure you keep them in front of you. But we keep teams to the sideline. When Odyssey talked about keeping them to the sideline, a lot of coaches will teach ball, you basket, and we do that. But for the most part, if we establish a ball side of the floor, we don't want them having ball reversal. We want them, if they do anything, we want them to come on in the paint. We encourage you to come on in there where Griner is. And that's what Odyssey was talking about. And you would never do that, open a lane like that, if you didn't have Brittany in there. Now, what you have to do as a coach in adjusting to that is post players who can shoot the three. Well, how many teams are you going to see that have post players that can shoot the three? We saw a couple in our league, but if you look throughout the country, most post players are mid-range jumpers or back to the basket type of players or face up and drive. They're not three-point shooters.
Okay, we are out of time. Coach, is there anything you wanted to add?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.